Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle to find great capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the deferred sales trust is the best way to exit your highly appreciated assets tax deferred so you can create, preserve, and grow more wealth. I'm your co-host, Pearson York, filling in for Brett Schwartz. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best wealth, business, real estate, and leadership individuals in the world to share ideas, deal stories, and inspirations. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. As always, we're streaming on expertcresecrets.com, the Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, the Facebook Kingdom Luxury Realty Facebook channel, and the Kingdom Luxury Realty YouTube channel. So please rate, review, and subscribe on those. And I'm super excited about our next guest. He's been in the real estate coaching and created a very cheeky way to secure deals since 2014. Nick Prefontaine. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, Pierce. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be with you today.
Yeah, awesome. So, before we get started, I want to just kind of take a step back and kind of ask how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So I always like to start this exploration, if you will, back to my snowboarding accident. So back to when I was 14, I had an experience when I was at ski club with my friends, and we got to the mountain and we headed straight for the top. And then on the way, on the chairlift, on the ride up, we noticed that it was very icy because people were wiping out everywhere. I got to the top and buckled in my snowboard and confidently charged towards the biggest jump in the terrain park. And going up to that jump, it was a tabletop. Going up to it, I caught the edge of my snowboard on the snow of the jump, and then I was off balance. So in the air, I was forced to go off it because I was carrying so much speed into it. It wasn't like I could stop. So in the air, I rotated, and I was later told that I landed on my head and I wasn't wearing a helmet. They wanted to life flight me, but it was too windy, so they weren't able to do that. Now, luckily for me, there was only one of the staff of 6 paramedics who could intubate right in the spot, and I needed that to be able to breathe because of the severity of my injury. And luckily for me, he showed up that day. So the ambulance rushed me to the hospital, and then when I got there, the doctors told my parents that, look, even if he comes out of this, he's probably not going to be able to walk, talk, or eat on his own. For lack of a better term, he's probably going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. So, that was certainly some down news, and my parents made a point to not have that influence me, even though I was in a coma, not able to communicate with everyone. They asked the doctors to step out of the room to share that. So I didn't know any of that occurred. I was just able to treat it like any other situation that I had treated up to that point in my life. After 3 weeks, they say I was only in the coma for 3 weeks, but I really don't remember a month because it was a partially induced coma, because they had to induce me because they were worried if I woke up and panicked and looked around, what's happening, where am I? The swelling in my brain, which was already pretty high to begin with from the impact of my accident, would increase and I would die. So they had to kind of put me under, and they said without that I would have been out for 10 days alone. After about a month, I was transported to a rehab hospital in Boston, and that's where I had to learn how to walk, talk, and eat again. And it was my goal from as soon as I could communicate, Pierce, that I wanted to run out of the hospital. And I did that. on less than 3 months later in total from my accident. I ran out of the hospital towards the end of April of 2003, and was able to graduate with my classmates and had to get tutored all summer long to continue on to high school. Shortly after that point, only gosh, I think it was only 18 months after my accident, I was starting to get the itch, the entrepreneurial itch, I guess you could say, because I grew up around real estate. It was all I knew. My parents were investors, builders, realtors, all at different points in my life. So that was all I knew. Around that time, 2005, I start when I was getting my real estate license, and it was only, I mean, not real estate license, excuse me, driver's license, because you don't get your driver's license. Um, anyway, you don't get your real estate license when you're 16. So I was only 16 years old. I got my driver's license right around that time. My dad was starting to play with the idea. My dad and his company, they had an investment company at the time. They were starting to play with the idea of having someone go out and door knock, notice of default doors, homeowners that had missed payments on their mortgage and have received a notice of default letter from the bank saying that they were going to foreclose. So I would get this list. And to me, they just gave me, Pierce, they gave me a list. They gave me a list and a script and said, go, this is what you do. You go to these doors and read this script and hand them this lead behind. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's what you do. So to me, what made sense to my 16-year-old brain was, oh, I'm going to go to the areas where the highest density of these NOD doors, these notice of default doors. Probably not the best areas to buy property. However, it was successful, and several years later, we still had several properties from that endeavor. When I first started it, I didn't have any training. Like I said, I was just told, here's a list of the houses that you got to go knock on. Here's a lead behind, and here's a script. Knock yourself out. So I had no training at all. And I would go and knock on their door and basically rush up to the door and just knock on it and then read the script, or I would try to internalize the script and read it. And I got a lot of doors slammed in my face, as you can imagine, because I wasn't relating to the people and disarming them.
Yeah.
Then I'm sorry, I want to take a breath there. Are you still with me?
Yeah, definitely. And so I want to pause there and just kind of take something back really quick. So the accident, man, like, wow, that's a crazy, story, dude. Going off an ice jump, hitting a box, and then, slamming your head on it and cracking it open and almost, breaking your neck and paralyzing yourself. Like, man, the Lord was with you, man. Obviously he's got something that's, um, way bigger than, and he wanted you to be alive for whatever reason. And so, I'm going to kind of lead into this next question. I believe everyone's been given a set of, like, spiritual gifts or superpowers or strengths or whatever. And, I just want to ask, to be able to run out of the hospital 3 months later after being told you're going to be a vegetable, what kind of strengths or superpowers or spiritual gifts do you have that have kind of led you to be that successful?
Well, I think it goes back. Thank you for the question. I don't think it's I think it really goes back, Pierce, to the fact that I had the support, going right back to it. I had the support of my family and friends right from the beginning. So I didn't have to devote any energy or focus any energy on, oh, like, who's in my corner, who's with me. So I had my support. And also I just trusted that once I took that first step, that the next step would make itself available to me. And a big part of that was, like I said, just my family support and having that support around me. So I I can't necessarily say what spiritual gift I have. I'm blessed though, Pierce, with I had a great support system, and I continue to this day to have a strong support system and I'm very thankful that I had a family and a support system in my corner to help and support me all on that way.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, really, what you've done is you got a team, right, of people that you've probably carried into your business, right, and then you have just a spirit of gratitude, that to just be alive, and that carries forth in leadership and humility, um, and people want to follow that. Is that a fair summary?
That's very accurate. My sense of and it took a coach that I worked with. I've been working with for gosh the past 2.5 years to reflect that back to me recently. Actually, maybe even not so recently, but she reflected back to me that I have such a strong sense of gratitude compared to anyone else that she works with, and to me, I don't see anything different, Pierce, because I feel like we all have so much to be thankful for, and I think yeah, an experience like that does put things in perspective for you, and make you realize what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, you were telling a story about how you started with notice of defaults, door knocking, reading a script.
Yeah,
You weren't relating to people,
yeah.
um, and just for the interest of time, right? We can probably guess that it worked, but it didn't work fantastic, right? And you were at the you were looking for a pivot of some sort, right? At some
Well, I
point.
needed yeah, I needed I'll give you guys the cliff notes here. So I wasn't having much success and I wasn't having getting much traction. I was getting a lot of rejection, which is fine. And I think it's important for anyone to go through for any endeavor. You have to get the reps in. But shortly after that, my cousin and I flew out to California to shadow the number one person in the country that was having success door knocking these NODs, these notice of default doors. Once I saw his strategy and how it differed from mine, how much more tact he had and how much more um, really to help people understand that you were there on their side to help them out of their unfortunate situation. Once I saw that, I started implementing it when I get home and I started seeing great success. Then if you fast forward maybe a year or two, once I graduated from high school, I got my real estate license when I was 19, March of 2008. I know, settle down, everyone. It was you're laughing, Pierce, because but I was just gonna say, settle down, because I know everyone's probably thinking, "Wow, what a fantastic opportunity and time to get your real estate license." So then I had my real estate license until about January of 2016. And I let that go. And during the last few years of that, I was starting to help my dad with the marketing of the rent to own properties, the properties that he was buying on terms as an investor,
Yep.
through rent to own, owner financing, non conventional, that kind of thing as an investor. And then that morphed into working with the buyers, and now that's all we focus on to this day. We now partner and have associates all over the country, Pierce, who we work with basically to emulate our business that we have here internally, which is Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut, Eastern
Okay.
Connecticut, where we're buying homes non-conventionally through a rent-to-own agreement. And then once we have that equitable interest, we're selling it on another rent-to-own agreement to our buyer.
So, okay, so let's dive into the strategy really quick.
Yep.
If you were to just give a high level overview of how you are now acquiring these properties, right? Like building the equity in these properties and then offloading them. What's a kind of a process?
Well, there are a number of different creative options. So I'm not going to go over all of those right now. Just like you said, Pierce, in interest of time, I'm just going to give you a high level 10,000 foot view. Say on a particular deal that we buy a property through a rent to own agreement, or in other words, a lease purchase. We'll buy it on a lease purchase. I'll throw out 5 years. So we'll buy it on a 5 year lease purchase, meaning that it's basically a delayed cash sale to the seller. So typically, the homes that we deal with are homes that have had trouble selling on the open market for whatever reason. We'll say we'll say that, hey, we'll give you your price, which is typically a premium. It's a little bit higher than what the conventional market is yielding and what conventional buyers are willing to pay at that time. We'll give you that price, but it's going to come in the form of a delayed cash sale. So on or before 5 years from now, call it, we'll cash you out at that price. Then in turn, once we get that equitable interest, then we're marketing for rent-to-own buyers with a good down payment that are going to come into the home, buy it on another lease purchase agreement, a rent-to-own, and the time frame that we're looking for. Remember, I said we have 5 years to get this done. We'll usually sell our rent-to-own homes in the 2 to 3 year time frame. And very often, buyers are able to cash out before 24 months. However, the reason that we want to build in that extra wiggle room is, say a life event happens, like a death, divorce, job relocation, and they have to leave the property and they can't fulfill their obligation to buy it. Then that gives us plenty of time to get back in the property, clean it up, of course, and then find another rental home buyer and put them in there, because there's enough term, 2 to 3 years, um, to get them done. Now, if both options don't work out for whatever reason, I'm just playing worst case scenario, devil's advocate. But if those both don't work out for whatever reason, say two life events happen, which are very rare. It's probably, I'd say 10% of the time someone has a life event that none of us can foresee and control. Then we can get the property back, put it on the open market with a realtor, and sell conventionally and still get done before the 5 year mark.
So, what do you think? Okay, so like, there's a property I'm thinking about right now.
This guy bought this property. He's probably
I don't know, 500,000 over market asking price. I live
in Newport Beach.
This property's in Dana Point, so we're talking, he put it on the market for
4.2
million. Totally gutted rehab project. Looks great.
However, it's overpriced
For the area. Like, he overbuilt it. And it's been sitting for months now.
And he's a FSBO. He's trying to get it, and I called on him and all this kind of stuff. So how would
I use this strategy, right, as a way to like acquire that property and then able to turn around and sell it? And by the way, guys, you can find Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can find out a lot more of this information by going to smartrealestatecoach.com/masterclasses.
Matt, yeah, almost. You are very close. smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class. You got the link right.
Master's class.
That's showing up. But,
Master's
if you want to go to master's classes, I'm not sure what's there. You can go there, but I'm not sure what's there.
It's not going to be what we're looking for. So smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class. And you will
in the scenario that you just mentioned, I can tell you that, just give you a little sneak peek. A lot of the time for sale by owners, they're more difficult for us, RVAs, and us and RVAs. I'll just use it's like our example. I'll use that. It's more difficult for sale by owners are for us and our VAs to call, because they're trying to sell on their own. They think they're getting all these calls. All these calls are from realtors looking for a listing. You
Right.
and I know that, but they don't know that. They're excited. The phone's ringing, so it's a lot longer play. Like it's a slower play. You gotta continue to follow up with them.
Hmm.
But we've done a lot of deals with for sale by owners. They're just a longer term play because they think they can sell it on their own. That's what they're doing.
Right.
We've
Interesting.
had more immediate success, excuse me, with expired listings because they've already had a proven track record of the market.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
You mentioned before the podcast, we were kind of chatting a little bit. You mentioned capital gains tax and your capital gains tax deferral. Do you have specific strategies for that with this rent to own, lease option, lease buyback kind of things? Is there anything that you guys do with that?
How that fits in, Pierce, is the fact that all right, so say that we'll go back to that same example. Say we're buying a property on a let me see. Let's scratch that. Do a different example. If a homeowner they're worried about capital gains, I think it's you would know better than I, but I think off the top of my head, they've had to live in it for what is it? At least
Two of the
two out
last
of the
5 years,
five. Two out of the five. So if they've been call it?
primary
What
homeowner living in the
yeah,
home for 2 of the last 5 years,
yeah, exactly. So
and
if
they've
they've
owned it
been
for 2 of the last 5 years.
if they want help with that, with deferring it, it's they would have to we could do a deal with them. However, the term would have to be much shorter. It would have to be like, for instance, a 3-year um, lease purchase agreement, meaning that the rental and buyer would cash it out before the 5 years is up. So
Gotcha.
if they've lived in it for 2 years, we could still do a deal. We could still buy it, but it has to be only a 3-year, 36-month term, which we do that. It's just the longer term is better. It gives everyone, it increases the chance of success
For sure.
the longer the term we have. But 36 months is definitely doable because then we're getting a rental and buyer in there that can get it done. In most cases, 90% of the time, our rental and buyers are financing the home, are getting their own loan inside of 24 months. So it's usually a slam dunk. However, you have a little bit of wiggle room there in case they don't. You can pivot and sell in the open market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, what you're referring to, just so the listeners know, is what's called the 121 exclusion, and that's what for primary homeowners, you get $500,000 if you're married, $250,000 if you're single, to write off against your capital gains tax. That it basically just goes to your basis. So when you're calculating that out, you include the extra $500,000 or $250,000 into your basis, which is how much you've purchased the property for, plus your improvements. And then you get to subtract that from your gain to find your sales price to find your gain, and that is kind of the gain is what you're taxed on. So do you guys ever do
Very,
like 1031?
very important that I mention this before you ask the next question. I am not an accountant.
Yeah. This is not financial advice. Please seek
Professional advice.
So, do you guys ever do like 1031 exchanges or anything like that? Or
We typically don't. No, we don't. We usually don't mess with that. No,
how come?
because that's actually all right. So the 1031 exchange is like if we sell one of our properties, then we're going to have to locate and use that money. I'm just saying, like one of those deals that we bought on like a 5-year lease purchase, where once that sells and cash out and gets to the third payday, which is oftentimes it's the highest payday or one of the highest paydays. Um, once it gets to that, then to do a 1031 exchange, we would have to use those funds to buy something else. Where this whole strategy that we're doing which is another exciting point. We're doing it. We're in the trenches doing these deals, and we have partners, associates all over the country who we also help to do this. There's little or no money down that will be needed to buy another deal, to get another deal. So why there would just be no reason.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. A ton of sense. So yeah, and it's finding the deal in 45 days, 180 days to close, and then you're adding all that capital back into the deal and making it liquid. Whereas your strategy, you're trying to use as little capital as possible to get in.
I mean, I like HIP National Bank better than investing it, putting it into a property. Like
Yeah.
there's better uses that we can put that money to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the 1031, right? Like, and even the 121 exclusion, kind of going back to the example, that I had before, right? The gentleman who, bought this house for, $1 million, and he put $1 million into it, right? And he's trying to sell it for 3.5. Okay, well, that's $1 million and a half dollar gain, right? So, I mean, in California, you're going to get taxed, 37% on that. If not, if you depreciated any, then 40. That's well over $600,000 if you do the math. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that just eliminates a significant portion of your gain, and it's well above and beyond what the 121 exclusion can do. And that exclusion is only for primary homeowners, and so you can't do it if it's an investment property. You can do a 1031 exchange, which is awesome, but then we're running into the same kind of situation again, where it's time constraints and like kind and illiquid and all this kind of stuff, where you're not diversified and you're having to pull the capital out and immediately put it right back in, and you really don't get to put it in the bank and reinvest it in what you want. So, and that's why we, use the deferred sales trust a lot, which is just one of many strategies. We feel it's the most powerful one, but the deferred sales trust allows you to sell an asset, and basically put it into whatever investments you want. It doesn't have to be real estate. You could sell real estate and go into stocks or business or Bitcoin, or you sell Bitcoin and go into real estate or stocks or whatever. It doesn't matter. So you have the ability to go in and out when you want, and you can go into real estate when you want, and you can come out of real estate when you want, and you don't have the time constraints. You don't have the like kind constraints. It's totally agnostic to what you can and can't. Super flexible. Control the timing of things. So it's an amazing strategy. We had a client who bought Bitcoin 50 grand. She put 50 grand into Bitcoin way back in like early 2009, 2010, and it shot up to like $50 million at the peak of this thing. And then she sold off a bunch at like $54,000 of Bitcoin. Sold off like $5 million for $1.85 million in tax. Put a bunch of money into a charity education company with her college roommate, and now she's living like a genius. But the other thing too is that what it gives you the ability to do is it gives you the ability to sell high, right, and buy low. Like Bitcoin just dropped to $25,000. Imagine having liquidity, where you could sell at 54, turn around and buy at 25 and go back, and having the ability to maneuver like that is what's super powerful. It's the ability to control the timing. And so that's why we love that. And you can learn more about that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, and you can start your deferred sales trust journey today. The big caveat is it's complicated and you got to learn about it. So that's why people watch the show. That's why people, come to our mastermind. We have a weekly mastermind every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And so come and check it out, ask your questions, learn, bring your CPAs, bring your financial advisors, estate planners, all that good stuff. So there's my shameless plug for the show.
No shame.
No shame.
You're good.
Good. Interesting. So I want to bring up one more thing before we're running out of time here, but I want to bring up one more thing. So you wrote a book with your brother and your dad. Tell us about it.
Yep. My brother-in-law, Zach, and my dad, Chris, we co-authored it together. It's the new rules of real estate investing. It's up. I think it's something like 21 experts discuss their kind of their new rules and strategies. And what we have for all your listeners, Pierce, is 100% free. They can get 100% free book. We're not going to hit them up for shipping and handling and ask them to input their credit card for that. If they head on over to our website, that's Wicked Smart Books. Well, it's actually not, it's for this purpose. wickedsmartbooks.com/capital gains. And we'll get them out a free copy. 100% free.
Awesome. I'm going to do that right now because I love the strategy that you're doing. Put as little capital in, get these properties, for little no money down. Secure
Well,
'em.
a thing rang true with me when you were saying back in 2009. So we right now, because at our peak, at the highest, we had anywhere from 50 to 60 properties. However, now it's got down closer to 20, 22 or 25 around there. That's because anywhere from 1 to 2 properties a month, those are getting cashed out. So it's either rent home buyers getting their own loans, or it's from properties that we had to pivot and we're selling conventionally. So we're seeing these big paydays, any 50, 75, 80, 100,000, sometimes over 100,000 from these deals closing. And it's good because not a lot of people have the long-term perspective. They're focused in the immediate short term. So these are all deals that we bought on a 7-year lease purchase, a 9-year lease purchase. These are all deals that we acquired them back in 14, 15, 16, 17, around that time frame. And they're all steadily cashing out. Like I said, anywhere from 1 to 2 a month. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's an awesome strategy. It's going to be really interesting to see what what kind of happens here in the next couple of months to years with this whole who knows cluster that we've created for ourselves. So,
Well, I don't mean to be excited or like happy for all that's going on. I know with COVID, a lot of people were like sick and everything like that. And I understand that. And I feel for people. My heart goes out to them. However, I know whenever there's chaos in the market, and the conventional market is not so hot, and you can't just put your home on the market and it'll sell in a day. We buy now is like our harvesting time. We buy more property now. And that way, when the next cycle comes along, another 7 years from now, 7 to 12 years from now, we'll be sitting pretty and exiting all these deals just like we're doing right now.
yeah, no, absolutely. And that's kind of starting to be the consensus, at least from the guests on this show, that they're kind of not excited, but the investor side of them, right, is excited because they see that opportunities are going to start pouring into the market here in a little bit. And so that is definitely, something that's kind of people are like, get ready.
It's a common thread.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, so don't be scared, people. Get ready. Get your liquidity out and start buying properties because it's gonna
Get excited, not scared. We do
definitely.
the opposite. We're excited.
So, anyways, all right. Well, we're running out of time here. So, Nick, what last thing, where people can find you, get your book at wickedsmartbooks.com/capital gains. And they can connect with you at smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class.
There you go. You left out the classes at the end. That was good. Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
100%, guys. So, Nick, thanks so much for being on the show, man. Any final words, final thoughts?
Just had a lot of fun, Pierce, and thank you for having me on your show today. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks again, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where, as always, that we believe the most high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the deferred sales trust, is the best way to exit highly appreciated assets tax deferred so you can create, preserve, and grow your wealth. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Nick, thank you so much again for being on the show, man. Had a blast, learned a ton of information. So valuable. And I'm going to go down and get your book right now and sign up for your master's class. So we'll see
check
you,
it out. Hey, Pierce, it's not a good fit for everyone, but you'll be able to tell if it's a good fit for you by the end of that master's class.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So go check that out, guys. Again, one more. Connect with Nick, smartrealestatecoach.com/mastersclass. smartrealestatecoach.com/mastersclass. See you guys.